Hello, Iniaki. Welcome. It's a pleasure to see you.
Okay, hello. I'm glad to see you again. Yeah.
I guess that the last time that we met, it was in Brussels, in Belgium. Is that right?
Probably so. I can't remember. It's a long time ago. It's a
Several
lifetime
years
ago.
ago.
Yeah, and what
Yeah.
is happening since then, like it seems a millennia ago.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually right. So, could you please start talking about yourself, what you do, your name, and then we start talking about Ireland and coronavirus life in Ireland?
Okay. My name is Iniaki Irigoien. I live in Dublin. I am originally from the Basque Country. Have been living here for the last 27 years. I collaborate with a community radio station. I have been doing that for the last 20 plus years. But as a day job, I am a civil servant. But I keep doing radio projects. I just finished one this week.
Okay, that's cool. So I would like to ask you, first of all, how are the current numbers in Ireland in the coronavirus cases? So positive ones, death numbers, etc. Just a quick summary.
Okay, the first thing that we have to be aware is that the positive numbers, like they are not reliable, not in Ireland, not anywhere else, because different countries count differently. For example, France didn't start counting like death cases in residential elderly home till last week. And people dead at home, neither. They only counted as death cases for coronavirus, the ones in hospitals, what makes a mockery out of any calculation. And every country is the same. And as well, the numbers of cases confirmed is dependent, because there is places where they are testing everybody, then they have a pretty good idea. And there is places like Ireland that they only test if you have symptoms. Then there are a lot of people without symptoms and there is people with symptoms that they don't bother. They say, like, what's the point? If there is no cure to it, why should I get tested? I just have to do the same. I just have to keep quarantine or stay at home or this and the other. Then what's the point? But taking that into account, the figures, the official figures, I was just looking at the webpage of the government, is around 5,000 cases confirmed. Sorry. The average of the people confirmed as positive is 48 years. Of those 5,000, there are 158 deaths. And the average age of the dead people is 81 years. That means that 54 in the cases confirmed, 81 in the dead. That means that even if you get it, obviously it's hitting harder here as well, the people of older age. Hospitalized, the current figures yesterday was 1,200, and people in ICU, I think that, I don't know, you may call it ER,
yeah,
whatever the people watching this call it, intensive care unit is how it's called here, are 165, was at the figure yesterday. And one of the most important things, and that's something that I can't test as true, is the number of healthcare workers that have been confirmed positive. Like one of the things that I am doing now, I am what is called community tracing, trying to follow up with somebody gives positives who has been in contact with that person and letting them know that they have been in contact with somebody positive and they should take precautions just in case they develop the illness. And the amount of people, of healthcare workers, is amazing. Like here, the official figure is that 20% of the people who is confirmed positive is a healthcare worker. That's over 1 in 4.
Okay. Yeah, the point that you stated in the beginning of your speech is which is about making tests to people, selecting some people to make tests or the others, and that's actually a big issue, because in every country it seems that the method, the style is changing. Also in Italy, as you stated, in the hospital, nurses try to evaluate if the patient has symptoms, and they make the test. Otherwise, they do not make tests. So it seems that every country is taking a different road, even if there are some, closed and similar points. So, based on this fact, I would like to ask you quickly to make the history of the evolution of the cases in Ireland. So when did the first case started, and from that day till now, how did your life change? So the rules and limitation of your liberty, the freedoms, etc.
Okay, here everything probably hits here when St. Patrick's Day was cancelled, the 17th of March. Like that's when basically it hit home. Like people was looking at what happened in China, what happened in Iran, what happened then in Italy. It was getting closer. But even the first week of March, like there is a big horse racing thing in England on that week, that is Cheltenham. And it's big for Irish horse racing in Ireland is big, and it's one of the big days of the year. And there were thousands of Irish people and English people on that day. That didn't get cancelled. And people were saying why it didn't get cancelled. And in the middle of that, St. Patrick got cancelled. And it was, well, okay, if St. Patrick gets cancelled, this is something big. Basically was... Yes, when the following week, can you imagine when the pubs got closed? That we just hit home that it was really big. It's an unusual sight in Ireland. But it was, I cannot recall when was the first confirmed case, but I say that it would have been around there, around the 17th, 18th of March. And basically, by then they have already closed all the schools, universities, and they started like asking people to wash their hands, cough in the elbow, all the regular things. By that week, they already started putting restrictions or ask people not to work. And the first thing that happened, I think that it has happened in most countries, what happened? They tell people not to work. They all get into the car and go to the nearest tourist spot and float them in the thousands. I have a friend living in Donegal that he was raging in social media and asking all the Dubliners to get out of their county, basically, because they all went there because it's where they go on holidays when they have a few days off. Some of them have holiday homes. A lot of the people from the north of Ireland, from Derry, has holiday homes in there as well. Then when they started closing or having days off, what they did, they went to Donegal. And the same happened in other tourist spots. Then I don't think reading the net is what it has happened everywhere.
Okay, so in this moment, can you continue to work at home, or do you have problems related to your work?
Not in my case, but most people, all non-essential work was called off. Like at the beginning was okay, a lot of places were closed, but the building sites were still open, and some of the places were still. Now at this moment, all non-essential work is closed. Then unless you work in a shop or you're a health worker, or you work in public transport or things like that, all other things is closed. In my case, I am a civil servant. Then we are like in skeleton work. And some of us, we have started working in doing what is called community tracing, trying to follow up the people who has been in contact with a confirmed case. But it's like now, at the moment, the restrictions are that are recommending people to stay at home, to walk. Here, different to other countries, here they still don't ask you to stay at home 24 hours and not go even for walk, except to the local shop. Here you can go. I went this morning for a walk. You can walk. They are asking you to go for walks in a 2 kilometers radius. But is that they still consider that is a good thing to go, no go in groups, no when you meet somebody stay at 2 meters away and all that, but they still recommend for you to go for a walk and get a little bit of fresh air and breathe outside.
Okay, so all these restrictions are a sort of recommendation, or are they related with the punishments? Or
No. There is no recommendation. The police is stopping people in the street. When I go to work, I carry my ID card, my official ID card, and I have a letter. I haven't been stopped, but I know that people who works with me has been stopped several times, and the police. I don't know if they are putting fines. I have not clear. I know that in other countries they are, but here the police is stopping. To tell you the truth, for what I can read in social media, that's not stopping everybody. There is still people going to their holiday homes. I don't know, but I imagine that it will be depend on the local police how strict they are.
I see. So, till now, which are the critics against the government and against these restrictions and all policies? I saw that the Prime Minister is a doctor and heard about the fact that he turned back to the hospital working, and people are talking about also the limited quantity of beds in the hospital. So it seems that people are a little bit worried about the fact that the things may get worse, and so there are lots of voices about Ireland and how Ireland is managing the situation. What can you add? What can you say?
Okay, I think that it has been very little critics to what the government has done. Like people is more or less looking at it and saying, okay, nothing can be done. We have to waive that as best as we can and see what happens at the end. It's true. Like one thing that worries everybody here is that in a normal winter with a normal flu season, you have. The first thing in the news in the morning is the amount of people that is waiting for a bed in a corridor, in a chair in hospitals. You have this week 100 and something, this week 200 and something. People just sitting in chairs waiting for a bed. And that's in a normal winter. Then one of the worries is that if this hits really hard Ireland, we are done, because if in a normal day you have over 100 people waiting in a corridor to be admitted, if this hits hard and you are talking about hundreds of people being admitted every day, like the system is not prepared. The health system in Ireland is not prepared. In some way, they have reached some kind of an agreement with the private hospitals to use their beds. Then it seems that for the moment it hasn't hit that hard. Then the hope is that it won't hit. That the truth is, as I was telling you, I am doing community tracing, and when we got a confirmed case, they have been in contact with very little people. Like it's like I imagine that before we started with the first cases, we're in contact with a lot more people. Now you will have family and maybe if they are working in healthcare, the healthcare colleagues, but very, very, very little. One people will have been in contact with 2 or 3, no more. What is good, that means that it's like the spread is very difficult once the people that has confirmed positive hasn't been in contact with hardly anybody.
Yeah. So the decision of canceling St. Patrick, it seems that it was essential and it avoided the spreading of the virus. Do you think so?
Yeah, and the week before the rugby match against Italy. Is that was a big one, and they were worried that they were having that even if the match was cancelled, the people who had tickets and plane tickets would have flown into Ireland from Italy, especially from the region that you are talking to, and spreading the virus, because in Ireland at that stage I think that it was coronavirus free still, but they were saying, okay, nothing stops them. The planes were still flying. A lot of people has tickets for the match in Ireland, even if the match was cancelled. Okay, you go for a weekend in Dublin. And I was worried that will have been the starting. Sorry. The starting of the spread. And then it was St. Patrick. It was the rugby as well.
Yeah, yeah. So basing on what you are doing now, I would like to ask a question. So in some countries, in South Korea or in Israel, we see that the government already started collecting data and personal information about the citizens more than the usual time, and especially basing on the coronavirus positive cases, they started tracking the movement of the people and collecting all necessary data to identify the country as red, yellow, and green areas, stuff like that. Is there a technological or political idea or work in this way also in Ireland? Are they getting prepared or already doing a huge tracking work?
No, here. No, it hasn't been done. It hasn't been discussed. Yes, I have seen it in the net that in other countries has been studied and practiced, but not in Ireland. At least not publicly. That's another thing. How much do you know of what's going on? It's always you always have to take it with a pinch of salt. How much you know what's happened, but no. Not that we are aware. Let's put it like that.
I got it. So another point, which is actually, I guess, the main issue in these days, is the eventual economic damage that this situation may create. So are they sort of preparations or forecasts about the economic damage that coronavirus may make on Ireland, and if the government is starting to prepare, substance and helps for the people which may already lost their job?
Yeah, there is like a money being promised and given to people who has lost their jobs, or people who has like temporarily lost their job, or people who will permanently lose their job, like what is called here the social welfare. It has been pumped up. I don't know. As I told you, sorry, the critics are very, very, very few at the moment. That will more or less the people has come to a conclusion that it's not the time for criticism. That will come later, and it will come. It's because we are in a funny situation. We don't have a government.
That's right.
Because there were elections. The result was a three-way draw, basically. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and Sinn Féin got more. There's basically the same number as it, one up, one down. Then nobody got a clear majority. Then we are still running with a government that was in place before the election. Some of those ministers that are in government didn't get elected in the re-election. They actually didn't get their seats. Then they are ministers, but they haven't been elected in the last election because the government hasn't been able to form. Then it's really a strange situation. They are talking about a grand coalition of the two parties of the right that they always hate each other, just to get on with it and to stop Sinn Féin from getting into government. but they haven't agreed to that neither. Then we are in a really funny, strange situation where we are running with a government that lost an election.
Yeah, I would like to ask you something related to our work. So, in all countries which are especially living a hard situation in these days, this point is frequently discussed. So, how the medias are, talking about the coronavirus pandemic. So, there are some cases where we can see that media workers are quite doing a sort of number terrorism, and there are lots of medias working about complete theories, and there are some medias are trying to talk about only exclusively the positive aspects of this period. So as you can see, how are medias talking about the case in Ireland?
It's basically what I can see is a figures, like a coverage of it. How many this, how many that, how many the other, like the lack of personal protections for health workers, the great job that the health workers are doing. Most of the coverage is that. It will be that. Like everybody, like whether you like it or not, like the government, everybody's being very careful, and the media as well. We don't have a kind of yellow tabloid media, or very little, and then the main papers, the main web pages, they have kind of a, for what I can have seen, quite a neutral coverage of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so one more question. In Italy, we noticed that the civil society started doing a big work as a solidarity actions chain. So there are lots of people working, as voluntaries, and there are lots of a big amount of donations coming from simple citizens or big companies, and etc. etc. There are, for example, in the city of Milano, there are more than 10 restaurants working exclusively for the doctors and the nurses for free of charge. So these are just 3 or 4 simple examples. But what we can see is that there's a big solidarity chain very active in Italy, which is actually a very big new thing. So is that a sort of change, positive, let's say, a change also in Ireland? Is that a collective conscience change?
I really don't think so. But the truth is that in Ireland, that community thing was still quite alive. Like in Ireland, even in Dublin, I live very close, 10-minute cycle from the city center. And in my park, when I walk in my park, everybody says hello. You still stop and talk to people. Then it's a city, but it's a city that is still in some instance behave like a town, like a village. Then it hasn't changed that much. What I don't know is I haven't seen anything. How is it dealing with the homeless crisis? Because Ireland has a homeless crisis. Then how are they dealing with, and how are they homing? Because one of the things when I go to work into town, that is where I do the work that I do, most of the people that you see outside are alcoholics. Is that people that doesn't have where to go during the day. Then you see a few people going to work or getting the bus, very few, but you could see alcoholics, homeless people without a house. That's what you see outside. And I don't know how well that's been dealt with, or what can be done in many cases.
I see. So the final question is about any exit policy, exit project, if there is. We we are trying, for example, in Italy to decrease the number of new positive cases, and now it seems that the work was done well. So we started talking about the exit policies, how our new life will be designed as. So what are your ideas? Which kind of life is waiting for us, and what people are talking about that in Ireland?
The question is, how many jobs will be lost at the end of this? How many people will have no jobs at the end of it? And how long it will take to recover? To tell you the truth, they haven't started thinking about that yet. They are still here. They are still in the period of thinking about how can we stop this now, before they start thinking about what it comes after. Like, I don't think that Ireland has come to the point of thinking about the day after yet. They are afraid that the economy had more or less recovered, but before the coronavirus, but they are thinking that they will go back to a recession similar to 2008, and that hit hard. Then the question is, the crisis was a structural crisis in 2008. This is a totally different. Then we said, the word is that the recovery will be slow, because it won't be tomorrow everything opens, all the kids go to school, everything goes back to normal. Okay, just forget what happened yesterday, everybody back to their jobs. No, that won't be the case. It will be a slowly opening this, opening that, allowing larger groups, this and the other. Then how long will that take? What shape will that take? I think that everybody is guessing and nobody knows.
Okay, that was my actually last questions. Just to know what are you planning to do today? What will you do?
I was meant to do the community tracing working today, but they would text me yesterday, they WhatsApp me yesterday telling me that we have the day off. Looks like the number of cases that has been having to be traced is dropping. Then we don't have to go. Some of us got the day off. Then stay at home, watch rubbish on on the internet, and read the papers. I just finished a book yesterday. I have to find another one.
So thank you very much, Iniaki. It was a pleasure to talk with you and see you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks, Murat.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.